Anthony, thanks for taking time and talking to us today. Same here. I mean, I've been following your blog for quite a bit. I also get your newsletter for quite a bit. And I must say that I've written to you earlier about this as well. And I would like to say that on the show as well, that this is one of those newsletters that I really look forward to reading every week. You've been consistent and not just with sending out the newsletter every week, but also with the kind of quality of content that you send out. Insightful, makes me think, and that's probably what a lot of newsletters fail at doing. Yeah, that's right. Right. So before we move forward, can I request you to introduce yourself and the body of work that you have done so far, so that the audience can actually, you know, yeah. Very interesting. So before we move forward, one of the first questions that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is how do you improve or significantly grow when it comes to business? And in order to grow, they do need to hire a lot of good sales guys. And they always struggle with the fact that they feel that all the good sales guys are hired by the large corporates, and they can't afford to hire them because they can't pay them the kind of salaries that the large corporates offer. So how do they go about finding someone who can not only work for them, but at the same time are able to do well for their careers as well? Because ultimately, So that begs the question that what is it that an entrepreneur should look at? Let's assume that he's going to go and hire a sales leader. So what should he look at when he is trying to hire a sales leader? What are some of the qualities and characteristics that you think they should look at when they are trying to hire one? Okay. So now the other question that comes out of this entire conversation is the fact that once you hire the sales guys, the sales leader, then how do you measure his effectiveness? One, of course, is through the sales numbers, but is there any other metric or any other lens that you look at measuring the effectiveness of the sales leader or guiding their actions? Because one of the things that I have realized is that entrepreneurs are very, very good at one aspect of business that they are very passionate about. It could be developing a new product, it could be developing a new service, it could be at times there are entrepreneurs who are very good at sales as well. But most typically, I've found that most of my audience, based on the interactions that I've had, they're typically guys who are very, very good at creating and coming up with new products and services, and not that focused on sales. So how do you set a great sales target for a sales leader? Or yeah. Yeah, that's very important as well, because the single biggest reason why entrepreneurs fail is because of cash flow issues, and because they don't generate enough cash, and that's probably the biggest reason why most entrepreneurs fail. So I want to just shift track here. So I read a lot of content around sales. I write about sales as well. I find that the entire way you approach this particular topic is very different from a lot of other sales content that I read. You're much more grounded in terms of basic principles rather than talk about sales principles. You identify sales basic human principles which are important for people to succeed, and then relate it back to sales. So is this something that you've consciously done, or is this something that has emerged over a period of time? Interesting. So, your book is about to release October 11, if I'm not wrong, right? Right. So it's called The Only Sales Guide You'll Ever Need. So it's a very interesting title as well. So any story behind the title? Why? And one of no, so for people who understand periodic table, I think your earlier name is also very clean and very clear. But for a lot of people who don't understand periodic table, probably this is a much better title for them. Yeah. So the other thing when it comes to sales is that there are a lot of times when character strength is also needed because of the simple fact that you go through so many rejections, and for someone to continue to push through, I think basic character strength is very very important as well. So your thoughts on that, and why, or probably if you can list down two three and explain the most fundamental and the most foundational skills that you think a sales guy should actually work upon. And the most and important thing is right now. Interesting. And what role can managers play in the entire managing these rejections, or even identifying those 3 4 trends that you're going to talk about when you're going to go and meet clients? And one of the challenges that I've also seen when it comes to sales managers, and I know that you write about it a lot as well, is instead of leading, they're just always focused on one thing, which is numbers, 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 and numbers. Is there any thoughts around that? And ensure that sales guys also take time and learn from these resources and use these resources, right? Because one of the things that I've also seen is that sales guys tend to by nature, a lot of sales guys tend to be overconfident, and they are the kind of people who would say to themselves that they know everything that they need to know. And I find that it is extremely difficult for people to do that. So how does someone go about cultivating that kind of a mindset? Interesting. So let's come back to your book. So is this book for sales guys? Is this book for sales managers? Is the book for sales leaders? Who's the target audience for your book? I did. Interesting. So, generally, when people ask me, how can someone improve their performance significantly, I talk about three components: mindset, tool sets, skill sets. I think you cover all the three in your book, and the intersection is what is creates sales. I mean, not just sales, but true excellence. Interesting. So you said you are a entrepreneur yourself, right? You're a practitioner. So I'm sure that there are so every sales practitioner has a lot of stories to tell, war stories, right? So anything that specifically comes to your mind where you were pushed to your limits and then you had to rethink the way you think about a particular business or a scenario and again come back and maybe save the day for yourself or maybe not. I don't know. So what you learned from that? Interesting. And as entrepreneurs, you're also there are times when you get pushed to the wall and have to push through the wall in order to be able to survive. So has there been any situations like that in your businesses so far as well? True. So let's get back a bit to your book again. And is there any specific chapter that's there in the book which you found very difficult to write and are really proud of? And explain why. Interesting. And maybe for the benefit of our listeners, if you could just capture the entire chapter in a few words, in a few in a few sentences, maybe. Yeah. Very interesting. And is there anything specific that you think? Okay, let me rephrase this question. What is it that you do in order to continue to grow as a person, as a leader, as a sales leader as well, and a thought leader as well, that helps you stay on top of the game? Yeah, yeah, no problem. No problem. Taleb. Mhm. So, exactly what I'm doing right now. Interesting. And when it comes to self discipline, I think you've written almost every single day, if I'm not wrong, on your blog, and to deliver that kind of consistency and kind of insightful comments every day is very tough. So how do you find content, find ideas for writing every single day? Yeah, I know. I mean, so having ideas is one thing. To be able to develop those ideas and publish it as a blog post is a totally different thing. And I've also noticed that the blog posts that you write are a very different kind of content, and the newsletter that you send out is a very different kind of a content. So, is that also something by design, or is it something that has evolved over a period of time? Interesting. And change. I think all sales is all about change, right? So you need to get people to change. So is there any thought that you would like to share with our listeners as to how do you go about effecting change, or at least leading someone to decide that yes, they want to change and stick with the change? Interesting. And for individuals? How? Yes. And this is not just in sales. I think this is the case in everything that you look around. I mean, whether it is sales, whether it is business, whether it is individual, whether it is politics, whether it is anything else. We are obsessed with things that you can easily measure, and not giving as much importance as we need to in order on the effectiveness piece of everything that goes on around. And Electricity is invisible. You can measure. So this why this obsession about measuring everything that we have around us? Four and five. Right. Interesting. So I think we are getting close to the end of time that we had today. So before we kind of conclude, two quick questions. One is, is there anything that you are kind of struggling and trying to improve with right now, and what are you trying to do with it? Second is the show is called Pushing Beyond the Obvious. So what is so obvious to you that people miss and that makes you go, why don't people get it? That's just brilliant. Thanks a lot, Anthony, for spending the time with us. Maybe you can tell us where people can reach you and what's and how can they order the book. That I can vouch for. Yeah. Yeah, and I just for the sake of reiterating, um, every entrepreneur, everyone who's actually trying to do something with sales, I think they should definitely go ahead and buy the book, and they should definitely go ahead and read the content that you put out. You put out really great content, Anthony. Thanks a lot for doing this for all of us, and thanks a lot for taking time and talking to me today and my audience today. Yeah, just so.